feel like I have this relationship with Ty at this point that, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was definitely, it's hard not to use the word easy.
It was like sophomore year, I think.
There we go.
You know, it was like freshman year, we're like fresh meat, trying to figure out where we belong, what we do, why we do what we do, and now it's like, okay, now we have decisions to make. We need to buckle down. We need to get to business, and I think it is. It feels like sophomore year. I think it was like maybe it was a little challenging at first to sort of step back into the waters of Tandy and Tyrone, but I think they're still, you know, they're the same people that they were before, with just a little more flavor to them.
Right.
And last season, Olivia, you were on the soundtrack, so Aubrey, we should be hearing from you this season.
Yes.
Can you say any more about that?
No. No.
You just gotta listen.
Yeah.
Will we get any more covers out of you? Any other?
We'll see.
Maybe duets?
I know. Well, I hope so. We talk about it all the time,
Yeah.
and there's so many opportunities for us to do that, but it's got to feel right, you know.
Exactly.
And we don't want to force it. We want it to feel very authentic and organic to whatever the scene is or the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day. We'll see.
Maybe we'll do a whole like musical episode. We'll see.
Okay, where do you guys feel your characters can grow in the second season? Really develop?
I think both Tandy and Tyrone have a lot of big lessons to learn this season. Obviously, we touch on some pretty heavy topics. First season, we focused on police brutality, suicide, drug addiction, sexual assault, a lot of heavy stuff. Season 2, we dive into the realm of human trafficking, and it's very real, it's very alive, not just in the U.S., but in the whole world. And Tandy and Tyrone can sit there and they can talk about it, but the great news is they're not just talking about it, they're doing something about it. And so they definitely evolve in that way. They don't stop at no, which is one of the things that I admire most about both of them, is they can challenge each other. Like when one person says no, the other person can be like, well, yes, and here's why, or vice versa. And I think both of them sort of evolve in that way. Their powers have evolved so much more. We're not just teleporting or manifesting light daggers anymore. I mean, he's popping around so fast you can't even keep up with them. And Tandy has a lot of new tricks up her sleeve, and I think everyone's going to be really excited to see how they've grown, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally.
Right.
Why do you think people around the world love your show? What's the thing that people keep repeating to you that, oh, I love the show because of this, because of that?
I definitely think it's Tyrone and Tammy's relationship. I would think so. A lot of people want them to be, you know, more intimate, but I think the beauty of season 1 was just the fact that they were dedicated to being there for one another, more so than being, you know, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You know, it was more so about being that one person that cares enough to check on you and cares enough to help you in whatever way you need, you know, and that companionship is something that we, you know, obviously see in a lot of film and television, but not so much with a young black male and a young white, you know, female. So I think it was an interesting, you know, twist to have on television, and I think that's the one thing that a lot of people fall in love with, you know, just seeing these unperfect teenagers and seeing themselves in, you know, the things that we go through.
And with the introduction of Mayhem this season, how is it going to affect both of your characters?
I think a lot of questions are going to be answered, but first there's going to be even more questions than you could even, I mean, they definitely, Mayhem has been introduced, and they are trying to grasp and cope with the idea of this thing that they were not expecting to. They had it under control, and now things are getting a little rocky and a little tricky, and so I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of questions that need to be answered, but again, Tandy and Tyrone, they'll figure it out.
Well, the fact that Mayhem is their, you know, is Bridges, this person that was trying to help them, how does that interact with their relationship and that dynamic changing we talked about? Well,
to say, I don't want to like give away anything, obviously, but Bridget respectively comes back this season with a little less pep in her step. She's kind of developed a little bit of PTSD from everything that happened. So you kind of see Ty and Tandy become these protectors for her and kind of like reassuring her that, everything is okay and that we have a job to do. Like we can't sit around and kind of wonder what's happening. We kind of just have to tackle it face, head on. So that's another aspect that you'll see this season as well.
Since a lot of your powers are added in post-production, have you gotten used to acting? Does it feel awkward at all, or are you used to it?
Yes and no. It's kind of ridiculous, some of the stuff we have to do, because obviously a lot of the things go in after we're done shooting it. So sometimes you feel really dumb in front of 100 crew members when you're throwing daggers. You're not really throwing daggers, so just kidding, I totally am throwing daggers.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's definitely weird, but I think we've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I think it definitely, especially because we're so comfortable with our characters now, and we have such a grasp of who they are and what they're gonna do in certain moments. It definitely it's fun. It's fun. It's weird, but it's totally fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
We did last year. We did WonderCon last year right before we premiered, so we showed our first episode.
How has been this year for you?
It's just been amazing. The reaction's been great to the show. People seem to be picking up what we're putting down, and we're excited to kind of bring season 2 where we're turning up the heat a little, I think.
Mayhem is set up like a Jekyll and Hyde character. Choose to go that route instead.
You know what? I feel like we've seen the Jekyll and Hyde story a lot, and I felt like we have such a smart audience, so I feel like there's this game of Taekwondo going on with them, and we wanted to see if we could kind of trick them into thinking they know what the story we're going to tell is, and then when you have an actress like Emma Lahana, if you can get her on screen twice as much, go for it.
Will we get Mr. Jip at all in the next season?
You might have already seen Mr. Jip, but you're going to see some deep cuts, I guess, this year and beyond.
So what are the challenges for you for this second season? What are the challenges that you face?
The second season, I take them way too seriously. I'm a big television fan, and I think the best seasons of television have been second seasons, like West Wing season 2, Buffy season 2, Alias season 2. That's kind of where you define your show. So it's been a challenge, but it's been a good opportunity. I think last year we cast these 2 actors who I didn't know very well, and now I know them better, as you can see with my really short massage I just got. But I learned over the course of the first season that they can do anything. So it was really exciting for me and the writers to get back in the writers' room and be like, now that we know Olivia Holt can do anything, now that we know Aubrey can make you feel the way he feels, we were able to kind of throw him in more complicated stories, put him in more danger, kind of create more emotional complexity than I initially thought even creating the show.
You guys spoke about last year how much New Orleans influenced the season. How has it influenced the second season?
In a big way. We still kind of, Voodoo is kind of like our spiritual baseline for a lot of stuff. So Aubrey by way of Voodoo, Tyrone by way of Voodoo is learning how to control his teleportation a little better. And we're also dealing with some of the issues that touch New Orleans because it's so close to the highway system. We're dealing with human trafficking a little as kind of our real life villain that's peppering some of our stories with our more accentuated villains.
Will we get any Runaways crossovers?
I am working very hard to try to make that happen. That is all I can say before Marvel shoots me. But it would be fun. I mean, Josh and Stephanie and I always talk about how great it was when we started reading Runaways when we were younger. Cloak and Dagger just show up really early. And it feels like they're all in the same sandbox, and Jeff is a great boss, so it would be nice. We're all trying to make it happen.
You said that Tyrone's character is going through a bit of a spiritual journey. Can we expect Tandy to be going through something?
Absolutely. Tandy is going to have probably her defining arc this season. I think she's going to start off in a place where she's helping out her mother, who's a victim of abuse, and she's got certain attitudes about women who are abused or women who are victims that might not be proper. So this whole season is about Tandy aligning herself with kind of putting herself in someone else's shoes and becoming a patron saint of something. I don't want to spoil too much, but she's because Olivia is so good, we put her through the emotional ringer and see how she comes out. And I think it's hopefully a really unique hero's journey. There, at the end of episode 10, I called her and I was like, Peter Parker might be my second favorite superhero. So what Olivia does and what Aubrey does right now, it's pretty impressive.
If you could have any Marvel character cross over onto Cloak and Dagger, who would it be?
Spider-Man. That's where they came up. That was their origin, right? Spectacular Spider-Man. And I think I always had so much fun where you just be reading a Spidey comic and all of a sudden they'd show up and they'd always just start fighting, which was kind of fun. You could do that back then. But I think it would be, hopefully with Miles Morales coming into town and every company buying every other company, maybe someday that'll be reality.
Can you give us a hint about what Mina will be going through?
Yes. We first see Mina in episode 3, and she's kind of trying to figure out what happened that night. And she's kind of in a similar path to Mayhem, going through some post-traumatic, she went through some things. She was a bit possessed. So now she's going to try to save the world in a very different way. And so she's kind of hell-bent on figuring something out at right about the right time for her to cross with Tandy. Also being in Pixar movies, apparently, because Ali Maki is awesome.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your con. Enjoy the rest of your